This month's edition of City of Jackson Staff Spotlight. And today we are glad to welcome Jackson City Clerk, Andrea Muray. Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. You know, I think a great opportunity for our viewers to learn about not just the job of City Clerk, but the person who does it. How long have you been City Clerk?
So I started in August of 2017. Okay.
And this is an appointed position, so the city council decides. So you had to go through an application process?
Yes, it was an application process in front of the entire council. It was an open meeting. So there were a lot of people in the gallery listening to the interviews, and we all of the candidates got asked the same questions. So
it's going to be stressful having a job interview in public.
It was, and I don't think that if I'm remembering correctly, I wasn't aware that it was going to be that type of forum. So it was probably better that I didn't know, because the anxiety wasn't really there. It was just like, oh, okay, this is how we're doing it. Okay.
What did you go to college for?
I attended the University of Michigan, and I graduated with a dual degree program in organizational development in African and African American studies.
Oh, perfect. So you saw the opening?
Saw the opening.
And what was it about city clerk position that interested you?
Well, I had worked previously on voter registration drives, and it was amazing to me how many people didn't realize that they were qualified to be electors. And so I found that this position, I could make a really big impact in making sure that everyone was able to exercise their right to vote.
Nice. And you're from Jackson?
I am. I was born and raised in Jackson.
Went to J High?
I did go to Jackson High School. Go Vikings.
And did you have a position with the city before the city clerk job?
No, I did work for the city of Lansing for about 4.5 years, but not with the city of Jackson.
Nice. So you're, as a city clerk, also in charge of the elections.
Oh, the elections, yes, sir.
Yeah, and so they've been controversial, not here, but in general, nationally, the last few years.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you know, what do you say to people that, you know, say, oh, well, the machines are rigged, they're fixed, they're not counting them, they're this, they're that?
I invite them to come witness the process. It's a very open process. We do testing on all of our equipment prior to. We have a public accuracy test that is open to the public. In 2020, we did have people who attended it. We had it in 2022. So they have an opportunity to ask questions. How does the testing work? How do you ensure that the results are accurate? And they have an opportunity to see that that is exactly what happens.
And you check and double check and triple check.
We check every single machine that we have prior to the public accuracy testing, and then we do typically 2 additional machines during that process.
The state, well, actually, I think the voters of the state decided that we wanted to make it easier to vote in an election. So what things changed or are changing as a result of Proposal 2022-2?
So there's several things. First and foremost, the voter can enlist in a absent voter ballot list. So every election, if they apply, once they apply, every election moving forward, they will automatically be sent a ballot. Okay. Previously, you could get on an application list that would prompt the application to be sent to you. It would have to be filled out and submitted back to us, and then a ballot. That proposal eliminates that step.
All right, so we'd have to do that every election. We'd have to fill out absentee ballot application.
In the past.
In the past.
Now, if you check that box on that application, is in the second portion. There's a box that you check, and it says, I want a ballot for all future elections. Once you do that, you're done. We send you a ballot before each election.
And we were never sending out ballots willy-nilly.
No.
No. So if you want an absentee ballot, and there's no excuse to get an absentee ballot.
Correct. That changed, I believe, in 2018. Yeah. There was no reason that you had to declare that you needed an absentee ballot for.
So what's the next election?
May 2nd.
May 2nd. What will we be deciding on May 2nd?
Jackson County ISD. I think it's a continuation of a bond or millage. Can't remember exactly, but it's one or the other. It's the continuation of it. So that's going to be the only thing on that particular ballot. And then in August, we have, if needed, a citywide primary.
Okay. We'll talk about city elections
Okay.
in a moment, because that might change. But with this upcoming election and some things that impacted your department and elections in general during COVID, they've provided you with some challenges and some opportunities. So coming out of COVID, what are some of the things that are challenging right now for elections?
I think we've kind of gone through and kind of figured out workarounds, the challenges. The biggest impact I think that it had on our particular department is some of our election inspectors didn't feel comfortable moving forward working with just the number of individuals that they were coming into contact with.
For their health, for COVID, or
Yeah,
for the
for health.
stress of confrontation?
I think more for health.
Okay.
I inherited a really great election staff, volunteer. Well, they're not technically volunteers, but they get paid. But we have a great group of individuals, and some of them just felt like the unknowns of the virus, it wasn't worth them putting their health in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's a tough job. I appreciate the election workers that I see. And they're there year after year after year. People like Mary and May.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone wants to be an election, are you looking for people to?
We always accept applications. We have to have a balance of declared parties in each election precinct board. So typically our group is more heavily Democrats than Republicans. So we always encourage, if you know someone who wants to get involved in the process, please have them fill out an application. And then we can put a nice mix at each voting location.
And right now, the city council is in the midst of deciding and investigating whether to change city elections from odd numbered years to even numbered years. What's the upside and the downside?
Well, part of the upside, from my perspective, is just a cost savings. We spend about $40,000 to $45,000 per election. And in these even years, a lot of that is covered by the state or the county. In the odd years, because it's simply a citywide election, all of those funds have to come out of the city's budget. So by eliminating having elections in the odd years, we can kind of piggyback off of the state and federal elections, and there's a cost savings to that. I think some of the downside would be the contest may get lost in a larger ballot, where people may sometimes forget to flip over a ballot and vote the back of it. And with it being a city office, it would be towards the bottom of that ballot in even years. So we have a public hearing on March the 7th, and the community is welcome to come and share how they feel about the possibility of changing to an even year cycle.
And could that happen as soon as, well, how would that happen?
So if it happens, if council votes to go ahead and move them, this year we have elections for 2, 4, 6, or it's 2, 4, and 6, the mayor and the treasurer. So instead of them having a 5 or 4-year term, they would have a 5-year term.
Oh,
And then in 2025, when 1, 3, 5 and mayor, or 1, 3, 5 are elected, they would again have a 5-year term instead of a 4-year term. And 2026 would be the first time the mayor would be elected in an even year, and then in 2028 we would be back into that cycle where everyone would be on that ballot.
and we would still alternate.
We would still, yes,
Yeah.
even an odd number wards would go on different years. Yeah.
All right, still to come. If you're interested, you can make your interest known at the public hearing, which is in front of the next council meeting?
6:30 on March the 7th.
Nice. Well, thanks for all that you do to keep our city and elections running smoothly.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Shining the staff spotlight for the city of Jackson on city clerk, Andrea Muray. We've got a busy month.